That's a great.
You'll begin to see then that all great businesses are really just three businesses in one: a marketing side, an operations, and an accounting side. And the key to flourishing in that realm is to try to work to the level where at some point you've got at least one person, hopefully a team of people, but at least one person who's focusing on each of those three areas,
Right.
and they don't cross over. And ultimately, you've got marketing trying to outsell operations, and operations trying to keep up with that demand. And that's how you create a competitive environment.
Yep.
And then you start going about the process of improving in 5 key areas. We already talked about
That's right. Hello, everyone. This is Josh Rogers with Make It ES Podcast. Welcome to the show. Today we have Lynn Gibson with us, the Beyond One Man business coach. Lynn, I've known you a long time. Where did you get that name?
I just think that, it just seems like most business owners start out from being a technician and then they move into try to owning their business.
Right.
And at that point, it's just one man out there trying to get the business started. And then at some point, they start expanding and adding some helpers.
Right.
But before long, all it is now is one man and some helpers. And and so at some point, the great business owners have to move from just being one man. They got to move beyond that. And that's the work that I do, is helping that one-man band move away from that and build an orchestra.
Awesome. Yeah, well, do you think, that's a lot. I'm in that spot right now, today, setting up the cameras and everything else, and we're like, okay, this is not scalable. This is not scalable. How can I do this on a regular basis? So is it a mental thing? Is it a physical thing? How do you coach people to end up scaling? Because if they don't scale, they're going to stay where they're at, right?
Yeah, I think, it's just a lot of things. One is that, there's several things that can get you in a trap. One of those things is the logic that says no one's going to do it as good as I do, and I want this thing to be right, so I've got to get in there and make sure all the details work. And I get that. It's everyone in their business wants to feel like they've got an element of control.
Right.
And it is true. You're never going to find someone that's going to do it 100% as good as you do. But what I try to show business owners is it doesn't have to be 100% as good to you. Now, It can't be 20% of you, but the people you bring in can be 80 or 85% as good as you.
Right.
And your customers will be gladly satisfied with that. That 15% that they're not doing, your customer's not going to notice. Like, I think about a guy that I met who owned this bar, and he wanted to scale it, but he was telling me one day that the one thing that's very important to him is the floor is mopped well and mopped wonderfully. All the corners, everything needs to be done right, and no one can mop that floor like he can, so he does it. And you know what? He's right.
Yeah,
he will never have anyone to come in to mop that floor as well as he does. But I don't think the customers are looking in the corners.
Yeah.
So one of the things that a person has to do to move beyond themselves is to accept that things aren't going to be exactly like they're doing them, but the key is that person, the helpers they're bringing in, are doing the things that the customers want done.
Right. So I guess accepting that, setting the right mental expectations of what's going to happen, when you bring other people in your business, that, hey, look, if they can do it to this level, I'm good.
You have to accept some compromises.
Right.
There's no doubt. There's never going to be anyone as motivated as the owner. And one of the keys to being able to grow and scale is accepting that truth, but also the truth that the way they're doing it, it can be very well acceptable to the customer.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know that you're kind of all over the United States now, coaching people. I know you were in Arkansas helping a coffee chain just yesterday, I believe, right? And so these guys are going from one coffee shop scaling to several, and I know that you've done that for several businesses.
Yeah, and sometimes, I'm working with folks that are trying to scale up to a large level.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm working with people that are trying to just get a better life.
Okay.
Because when you're in that one-man band and you're
Right.
trying to run all segments of it, it's a 24-hour-a-day proposition. And, we talk about this book called The E-Myth that was written
right.
30 years ago. And what he says is that eventually what happens is an entrepreneur who doesn't grow beyond themselves, either they end up as becoming a martyr. That's the
Right.
life I lived for a while. Nobody gets in here as early as I do. No one stays as late. And you start wearing it as a badge of honor that you are pushing to the max and you're sacrificing everything. You'll either become a martyr or you'll quit.
Right.
Because at some point, something has to change. But hopefully, they can see that it's possible to change the way you're thinking from a one-man band, the owner has to do it all, to the capacity to build a team and deliver the service through a system, a team approach, deliver it that way versus the owner having to be in every segment of the delivery.
What are that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. If you got a guy that's just starting out, or not starting out, he's ready, he can afford a coach. He needs a coach. He recognizes it. How do you analyze the business and the person to know if they need you or not? Well, how do you get past it? How do you do those things?
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I'll get, I'll be talking to a business owner. I had one just not too long ago where it was a guy who owned a heating and air company and was trying to grow and scale it. And he asked me, so if I work with you, what do you know about heating and air? And I said, absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, right.
And it's a good thing that I don't, because if I knew about it, I'd get down in the weeds trying to solve issues that really aren't a part of the big problem. And so what I find is that all businesses really tend to look alike at a certain point.
Okay.
So because of that, there's a pathway I try to take the business owner own in an effort to move them to a different mindset. And so the first thing I try to do is to get them to go through an exercise of visualizing what could their business be if it was at its very best and highest calling. Okay. So let's visualize what your business would be doing. What would it be delivering? What would it look like at the height of your imagination of when it's at the best of what you visualized it delivering? And in order to get to that point, the key is to visualize it as if you had no shortage of time, talent, or money.
Okay.
What hurts people in their visualizing of what could be, as soon as they start thinking about what it could be, there's that other voice. You would never have the money to do that. You would never have the time to do that. I mean, you don't have a minute now. And then you can't find one good hire. How are you going to have that many people? So you have to kind of get away from that voice and have this vision on the basis that you have unlimited money. And let me tell you something. If you've got a clear vision of what can be, the money will come. Secondly, you have to have a vision that you've got all the time to implement this. You start building a team going in the right direction, you'll have more time than you ever had. And then the people will show up when you have a clear vision. So visualize what could be if you've just got all the money, all the time, and people standing in line to come work with you. Once you get that clarity of what the vision is, then you start asking the question, well, what would the people be that I need? Who would the people be, and what would they be doing? And the key to visualizing this organizational chart of people is that the motive of the business is to deliver excellent customer service. It's as if the business was created just to deliver this great experience to your customers. So who would the people be, and what would they be doing to carry out this mission of the best incredible customer service? Once those people are all put in place, delivering this service that you envision being at the highest calling, then the question would be, well, what would all of this cost? So we're going to look at the kind of people that it would take to deliver. What's the cost of those kind of people? People who are great and show up and do a great job. What is all the cost for delivering this customer service? Then, that's the operational component. Then we move to the marketing side. Great. How much would you have to sell to pay for all of this?
Right, right. So I know a little bit about this because we talked about it before, about the three components of any business, right?
Yep.
So before we dive into that, a person has to imagine what it will be like, or what it would take, not what it will take, just, hey, look, if you had no limitations, money, time, right? And what was the other one?
No shortage of time, talent, or money.
Okay.
Yep.
And so if you had those, if you take all those limitations away and you imagine this world, and what we do in my business is we have this goal of volume or whatever else, and then we back into that number. So that's basically what you're saying is so how do you, this perfect world, what would it look like? Then we're going to back into it. How to get there? Is that?
We're going to back into it by looking at the people that it would take to carry out that vision.
Perfect.
But I will say this, most of the challenges that a business owner has is because he lacks a clear vision.
Right. Oh, okay.
And of what could be.
Right.
And whenever I ask that question, what is your business supposed to look like when you're really done where you're wanting to go? And the answer is, I don't know. Well, I get it because I've been there.
Yeah.
But guess what? I can't help you.
Right.
I can't hit a target that you don't have.
Right.
So it's okay to not have that vision, but if you don't, you have to go to work on it.
Right.
You have to get some alone time. You've got to get to a place that you can't imagine and pick a path. Your business could be 100 things, but you got to pick one.
Right.
What is it that this business ultimately is going to try to deliver? And the clearer that vision is, I think Roy Disney said, the clearer your vision, then the answers come easy.
Right.
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 So clarifying that vision is huge. Then, almost always in business, delivering the vision, delivering that service, it comes from people. You
Right.
have to have
Right.
people to deliver it. And so the exercise of asking the question, what would be needed? What roles would be to be needed?
Right.
All the way to the point of starting where the customer comes in the front door.
Right.
Then there's someone to greet them, or there's a process. Play it out where the people are put in place.
Right.
Now we got a cost for those people.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And we've got to be, what would it cost to deliver this excellent customer service? Now, with that in place, we've got to go about a marketing plan that can drive the revenue necessary to meet that cost. That's the pathway and to developing systems and services that work without you being there.
Right. Okay. So that makes, I'm loving that you're going to that, the marketing aspect, because I think so many businesses forget that, right? You built it, now they're going to come, but now if you have the best system or service in the world and no one knows about it,
Yep.
you're going to starve.
So all great businesses that are scaling and growing, they are really three businesses in one.
Yes. Okay.
Three separate businesses. There's a marketing side that's driving the revenue.
Right.
There's the operations component, and then meaning, delivering the product that you're delivering. And then the other component is there's some element of accounting, finance, billing, collecting the money, etc. And if you're going to scale, you've got to get to the size with whatever you have to do. You got to get to the size where there is at least one person in each of those sections, hopefully a team of people. But the point of launching to scale is when you've gotten to a point that you have at least one person who is in each of those sections and they think about nothing but those sections. So you see, here's what happens in the one-man band business.
Mm-hmm.
There's three of those components, and even the one-man band business. But what happens is he or she is running back and forth across the components. So they go over to marketing and they start selling, and with nothing to do but sell.
Right.
Oh, the sales are coming in. Then they look around and go, geez, the delivering of the product now is way behind. So they quit marketing.
Right.
They go over and they make the product as hard as they can go, and they get it delivered. Whew, finally. Oh, man, the bills are unpaid. Money's flying everywhere. I got to sit down and do some bookkeeping, pay the bills, get that done.
Yeah.
Okay, great, done. Looks around, the bank account's empty. I got to get back to marketing. And they run over and sales start going up. And it's a perpetual cycle that can last years without even recognizing that's what you're doing. And when you do recognize it, the common solution is this: I just need a better calendar.
Yeah.
I'm just not working hard enough.
Right.
I've got to get a few helpers.
Right.
But the problem is this lack of understanding or commitment that what we really got to do is divide the internal side of the company and get specific people who are never crossing back and forth, because the inefficiency that comes from that starting, stopping,
Wow.
and it's draining, and that's the life of most of the one-man band business owners. You recognize that?
Yes.
Me too. I lived it forever.
I definitely recognize that right now. Yeah, there's things in my mind that I know that need to be done, but we are here. We're doing, this is a form of marketing. Us getting a message out, us talking about it. And I know there's fulfillment items that need to happen. I have a really good team, but I see a couple blank spots.
Yep.
Yeah. But however, the team that I have now, they can't cross. They can't cross the lines. And so they're like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. And luckily enough, they're great people, so they can put me into the place and say, hey, why don't you do this? And then, hey, look, that's not the job. You know, you told me not to do that. And so that's fantastic. But we forget that. We forget those three elements. And so many businesses run where you are the maitre d', you're the waiter, you're the cook, you're the accountant, all those kind of things.
And so a couple of thoughts on that. So what's the key to the breakthrough? The key to the breakthrough is when you hit your exhaustion level. I mean, you just have to keep running like that until you get to the point where you just can't do it anymore.
Right.
And, I admire these people who recognize it early on and start moving to a better place. But for most of us, hard-headed business owners, we got to just play that out to the point of exhaustion. So that's at the point that I can come along and start working with someone, is when they're beginning to recognize this can't go on much longer. So that starts the process.
Right, okay.
The second part of the process then is understanding that you've got to change your mindset, and that starts with developing this vision, putting together an organizational chart, and then beginning to work on it. Now, the hardest breakthrough happens is when you realize that you have to stop hiring helpers and you got to start hiring solution providers.
Okay.
In all the businesses that I've got, almost kind of as a joke, I will issue everyone on my staff a name tag, and it'll be Bill Jones Incorporated, Sally Smith Incorporated.
Okay.
And I'm telling them that I don't have any employees. I am internally outsourcing every function of the business. So I say to Bill Jones, when you came to work here, I don't need any employees. I need solution providers. Wow. And your job is to take care of this particular section, all driven by the concept of you're doing it so that I don't have to, or that the person you're working with doesn't have to.
Right.
And your job is to provide a solution to that. I'm buying a solution.
Right.
I'm not buying a helper.
Right.
So
it's like a subcontractor. You're looking at them. Hey, look, you are this part of the business, and that's your business.
Every position is a subcontractor.
Yeah.
Now, not literally, not all
Sure, right,
1099s and own their own business.
Right,
They may be W-2s, but conceptually, I'm telling them that.
Well, that's a huge mindset.
And the key when you
shift.
hire them is to explain it that way. Like I've got a guy that takes care of my swimming pool.
Okay.
And it took me several times where people would come and apply for that service.
Sure.
And I would say to them, now, you need to understand, I'm not hiring a helper here. You see, I don't care if you have to live here or you never come here. I just want to walk out my door, and that pool looks great all the time.
Right.
All right? And they'd say, of course. And then in about a week, I'd walk out, and they would be a bag of some chemical with a note. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, pour this in.
Really?
Now I've got a helper.
Yeah.
I had to call them back and say, no, that's not the plan.
Yeah.
So when you're building this team of people, it's imperative that you start in the beginning of being clear. Here's the role, and I'm hiring a solution, not hiring a helper.
Right.
So that's the first thing, a mindset when you put people on the team. The second thing that's very difficult for people to transition to is this. When you're a one-man band and you start into this business, in the beginning, I mean, you're suffering. You're hardly taking a paycheck. You're struggling to get it going. And then you finally get it to the level that is doing well, and you've now finally started to get this good income coming in. Whatever that number is it 50,000 a year? Is it 100? Is it 500? Whatever it is, you finally get to the point that you're driving a good income. Now, about this time, you're also starting to see, wow, this thing's got a lot of potential. I got it figured out. Usually that's the case. When your income is getting to where you want, right? You've kind of got it figured out. You're feeling good about it. Now you're thinking, boy, this thing has potential. I could really grow it. It's also at that same time that you are maxed out in ability. So now we're under this heaviness of your existing success. You're doing well. You got the income you want. You know it could be so much more, but your time is zapped, and you're just hung right there. So if the breakthrough then is to bring in some solution providers that can help you grow, the problem is that you're right where you wanted to be income-wise. So now I got to bring in this solution provider. Now, a helper might be $10,000 a year or $20,000 or $30,000 a year, but a solution provider is something more than that, $50,000, $60,000, something like that.
Yes.
And the business owner goes, how in the world, after spending this time, years, getting my income to $100,000, right? Now I'm going to hire this solution provider, and I'm going to pay them $60,000. So my first step forward is for me to go back 60% loss of income, and right there's the hang up. And they just can't see how that makes sense. And the reason they can't see it is that all they can see is the expense side. But what they don't see is this solution provider comes in, frees up 50, 60, 70% of your time. What can you do with that time?
That's what are you supposed to do with that time? Yeah.
And oftentimes you can use that time that you're saving to go back out and triple or quadruple your income. So I just ask them the question, so what happens when you're hiring these solution providers, what you're really doing is buying back your time. And the question is, what's that time worth? So, if you could get 3/4 of your time back, what would it be? What would you pay for that based on what would you do with that time? So if you say, well, I made $100,000 on all my time. Sales are maybe 20% of my effort, so I clean up 3/4 of my time. Sales go to $300,000 or $400,000. So the key to getting this first breakthrough of hiring that first solution provider is going beyond just looking at the expense of that and thinking about what can happen when you get 3/4 of your time back. It's huge. And if that person you're hiring costs $20 or $30 an hour and that doesn't make sense, well then are you saying you're not worth more than $20 or $30 an hour? I mean, so you got to look at the asset side of that decision, not just the expense side.
Yeah, what can it really do for you to grow? Like freeing up that time, or if you're happy with your income and the way you can divide it up, and then now you get weekends with your wife or your kids or whatever, or your free time, you can start living a life and not just working a job. That's I think we get all caught up with that, right? So we're a service provider, then all of a sudden we start a business. And now we're learning how to do a business, and then we can't scale the business because we're providing the service. We are the person. And, so you think that you're going to double your income, but actually you might double your income, but the issue is now your time zapped because you're wearing all these hats. You may have been the air conditioner repairman, but now you're the accounting guy, you're the sales guy, you're everything.
So if you're going to transition, as I said, it's about establishing a vision, putting together a chart of the people, making sure that you understand those costs and that you can market to overcome those. It's a process of accepting the people you put on the team are only going to do it 85% as well. It's a process of being able to watch your income go down and believing that you could actually use that time to go way up.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest challenges to this transition and growing and scaling is accepting something that it's difficult to do, and that most people get into a business because they have this unique skill. Let's just say somebody is a plumber.
Sure.
And they're maybe just doing it on their own home. Then they do it for some few friends, and then someone says, wow, you're really good at this. You should start a business doing this. And so the plumber decides, okay, I'm going to start a plumbing business. Now, here's the problem. Being a great plumber has nothing to do with owning a plumbing business.
Right.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. I mean, it's good that you're a great plumber because you can then recognize what does good plumbing look like. So it's valuable.
Right.
But beyond that, has nothing to do with it. Because if you're going to own a great plumbing business, then you're in the people business.
Right.
You've got to be able to recruit people, train people, manage people, build the systems to manage people, which includes software and the Wi-Fi system, and trucks, and insurance, and work comp, and payroll, and tax returns, and accounting. What does that have to do with plumbing?
Right. Wow.
And so what happens to a lot of one-man bands is they realize, well, I wanted to start a business, but you know what I really wanted to do was just be a plumber. And if that's really what you want to do, then team up with a great plumbing company and you just be a plumber and let them run all those other side of things.
Right.
But you have to accept the fact that running a great business, you have to morph into being a great business owner, and that's a whole different role. And not everyone likes that.
Right.
But someone has to do it, and it's a whole change of mindset, accepting that you're a business owner and not a plumber.
Well, when you have that guy that's used to this one job, and then he expands into all these other jobs, owning a business, how do you get that person to where he can start to accept those things, and how does he get to the next level? I know kind of the answer to this, but I'm wondering, for the people that have never heard this before, what's next?
Well, I think, the key to getting to that next level, well, first off, just to expand on what we were talking about before, and that is that the key is to accept the fact that my goal is for people to get great plumbing services, not necessarily for me to go and do it. Right. I crossed this point years ago. I spent a lot of years as an investment advisor.
Sure.
And I kept hiring people and building systems. And my wife one time said, I thought your goal was to, be an investment advisor. I said, well, that's the way it came out. But my goal is for as many people as possible to get these great planning services that I offer.
Right.
That's really the goal. And I can't achieve that goal of more people getting this great service if I just insist on me doing it myself.
Right.
So I think the key to the transition of becoming out of that one-man band into a business owner is the desire that you want this great service that you have been provided to be delivered to more people.
Right.
And that means building a team of people to do it. So how do you make that transition? Well, the way you make that transition is to recognize that a great business has these multiple components that have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
You see, what I find, most people are naturally good at one of those three sectors.
Okay.
And by the way,
and remember, so that's the
that you're either on the marketing side, operations, or the number side.
Okay.
And one of the things I would encourage everyone to do when they're hiring someone for any position, is just to start by asking them this question. So you're here to talk about a marketing position, but let's assume that we had actually 3 positions open and they pay exactly the same. And it's just a matter of you picking what you want. We have a marketing position, and in that position, you're going to be all about talking to people, talking about our product, just talking to people, convincing them, building friendships. That's one job.
Right.
Again, they all pay the same. The second job is we will have you, whatever your operation is, in the warehouse, on the floor, and you'll be delivering and making and servicing our product, right? Now we have this third job. We've got a room in there, and we'll put you in there. No one will bother you. Your job is to get the numbers right.
Right.
That's it. Which of those three would you take? Josh, I can't tell you how many times I'm entering somebody for a marketing job, and they go, well, really? If it was just up to me, yeah, I want that room where nobody bothers me, and I'm going to work on the numbers.
Holy cow. You're like,
and how did this happen?
Right, wow.
You're here for a marketing job. What happened? Well, I've really always been a numbers person, but, I went to college, and I was noticing this marketing firm, and they had this position, and they paid good, and I thought I could do it, and boom, 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 we all get off on these paths.
Fell into it, yeah.
So the key is to team up with people who love doing what you don't really like to do.
Love it.
Because usually what you're uniquely good at doing, it's also what you love to do, and it's what you could do every day.
Okay.
Now, the way to test where you are is to take all the components in your business, from the day the door opens to making the coffee to turning on the lights, every single task, write them out.
Right.
Ask yourself, take each one of them and say, now, this task, what if something happened that I had to stop and do that task for 14 hours for 5 straight days? Now, the confusion for a business owner is that every task they can do better than anyone,
right?
Because they're the most motivated.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean they're the most talented.
Yeah,
and
that's
so when you're doing that one thing, 5 days, 14 hours, how would you feel when it's over? Even though you could do it better than anyone else. Do you feel just exhausted, or do you feel like you could do it another day? So, like when I look at my business, right? If part of my business was doing this, or talking to people, I would just not even have to sleep, right? I just do it night and day. But when it comes time for a task like whatever, doing paperwork, filing a tax return, or whatever the other components are, I can do that better than anyone else on my team because I'm so motivated.
Sure.
But when it's done, I'll have to go climb in a hole for a week to get over it. So what you want to do is to put people on your team that thing, let me tell you, Josh, one of the greatest joys, having someone on your team, something comes up and you look at it and go, oh, God, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, right.
I hate that. And you go, wait a minute, Jeff.
Right.
You call Jeff in. Jeff, I got this problem. He looks at it and goes, give me that one. I love doing that. The joy of handing off what you hate to somebody who loves it. So what you'll find in business, marketing, operations, and accounting, the owner tends to be better in one of those three.
Okay.
Pick your lane that you're uniquely good at.
Right.
Build a team around you that love the other things that you're not so good at doing. And separate marketing, operations, and accounting. And that's the key to growth and a much happier life.
That's amazing. I mean, just that opened my mind when I thought about marketing, operations, and accounting. That just opened my mind big time because of my business that I'm in. A lot of us are caught up doing so much of so many different roles, and the business is not separated. And so you look at, what Ford built. He knew he needed someone to sell the cars. He made cars. He perfected a system.
And what did the people selling the cars know about the assembly line? Nothing.
Good point.
Nothing.
Great point.
They were never burdened with having to stop selling and come up there and fix one of the assembly line machines.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Now, when you really have growth blazing is when the marketing people take on the task of overrunning the operations people. So the marketing people realize, here's our job, to make operations miserable. We're going to go out and sell to the level that operations go, it's too much. And marketing people can get the joy of saying, that's your problem. You better pick it up. You better pick it up.
I love it. What a cool challenge.
On the other
yeah.
side, the operations people try to start building the supply capacity
Right.
to where it starts getting too much. The inventory is too high. And as an example.
Sure, right. Yeah.
And operations call up marketing and say, hey, folks, y'all got a problem.
We get too much.
You
inventory.
better get with it.
Yeah.
We've built all this capacity. You better go sell it.
Right.
And then accounting people are complaining that there's so much operations and so much marketing going on that they can't keep the book straight. To which both of those say to accounting, well, you better figure it out. Get with it. And when you have all three sides trying to cause problems for the other, that's what stimulates this underlying growth in the business.
Isn't that amazing?
And they don't have anything to do with what each other is doing. The greatest stall is the one-man band who's better in the, as I said, the one-man band owner will look like they're better than all of those people.
Right.
And when the owner wants to go over to marketing, he usually sell more than anyone. When the owner goes into operations, he can usually produce more. And the owner can get the book straight. So because that owner feels he's best at it, she feels she's best at it, then they got to stay in each of those three areas. And look, I've always said this, 1% of $1 billion is worth way more than 100% of $100.
Right. Wow. Yes.
So, this concept of I've got to be in all those areas to get it exactly right. But the key is start building a team by recognizing what you do uniquely well. Pick one of those three areas. Now, ultimately, once you get things going, the next step is you get out of all three areas.
Right.
And what a business needs is a visionary.
Okay.
A visionary, the owner perhaps, but someone who is thinking constantly about the opportunities and about the culture. And that's a full-time job.
Wow. Okay, so you just took me to a new level.
Yep.
I was at the 1, 2, 3 level. Now we have, hey, look, once this is running, we have a new level.
So if you really looked at the organization chart first, what you have in all great business is a visionary, a CEO, and then a manager of marketing, operations, and accounting, and then people who are working under those divisions. Initially, the one-man band is all of those things. The goal is just to get your name out of all those seats. Starts by you going over more specifically in one of those sectors, marketing, operations, or accounting, then developing a manager in that, moving up to a CEO, then ultimately to just the visionary. You've hired a CEO that's hired those three people who manage those three sections.
Amazing. Now, see, what I think the majority of people in the world, they're thinking the visionary is really the CEO.
You're right.
You've just taken me to a new level because that CEO has to manage all those people, and we're thinking on the outside because we're not that person, most of us, and then we're thinking, okay, well, it was his great idea for this movement, that movement. Because I've wondered about like Jeff Bezos, how he stepped out of certain roles, and Musk.
So the visionary, if you want to use
Jeff
Jeff Bezos for example, what he thinks about is nothing but, I'd say three things. He's thinking about the vision of where the company is going. He's thinking about the culture of what that company is and keeping that shaped.
Okay.
His third decision is he has one hire to think about.
Yeah.
The CEO.
Okay.
Now, the CEO is thinking about carrying out that vision.
Right.
And he has three hires. The person is going to head up marketing, the person is going to head up operations, and the person is going to head up accounting. The director heading up marketing, he has three hires. Yeah. He has the hire of who's going to head up social media, who's going to head up whatever the other, whatever to be, email campaigns, and then who's going to head up customer relations. I don't know.
Yeah, who's
and each of them have, and it just flows down the line.
I love that.
But the biggest change is seeing your company in those three sections. And the first step is, as the owner, picking your lane of those three sections.
Right.
Build a team of the other two, then eventually get yourself up in the CEO seat.
Yeah.
You put somebody in the section that you were in.
Right.
Get to the CEO seat, And then you're looking for that one great hire that's in the CEO seat, and you're to the visionary level.
So when you're looking for that CEO person, because we're looking to buy back our time at this point, right? Because we're making money. It's worth X amount of dollars to buy back our time. And now we can move into this visionary role of, hey, look, I need to focus on new opportunities. I got someone to run the business. Now, if I can get this person that is on my wavelength, and so that's where I want to lead to, how do you find a CEO? And how do you hire a CEO? What I mean by that is how do you know it's the right person?
Well, I think the key thing, whatever person you're hiring, is to recognize, and I've said this all my years of being in business, I've never felt like I've ever really hired anybody or I've ever really fired anybody.
Okay.
What I'm constantly trying to do is to understand really well what that position requires, the unique skills, everything about that position. And as I said, usually if it's a marketing position, then I know it's a people person, right? If it's operations, it's a person who loves spreadsheets.
Right.
If it's accounting, it's a person who just got to have every penny right, correct?
Perfect, yeah.
So I got to really understand that position. And then I'm going to try to go find a person that I think I understand them. And all I'm trying to do is get the right person in the right seat. And whenever I hire somebody, it's because I think I have. And whenever, if you want to call it firing somebody, transitioning someone out,
Sure.
as I'm just saying to them, this didn't work because I failed. I failed to either understand the position or understand you.
Right.
But I'm going to move you out because it's not good for you to have you in a position where it's not catering to your best strengths. So that's it. I'm just always looking to understand the position and understand the people.
Well, you said something earlier about I failed you. And what I see, and even in myself, is I know what the position is, I know what it does, but I don't take the time to define it clearly. And I don't take the time to think about or ask those questions. Hey, look, if you had 3 choices and they all paid the same, what would you choose? That's an amazing question. And then on top of it is if you don't have your clear vision of where you're going, you don't have to know everything, but as the clearer you can get, I'm assuming the better off you're going to be and the better off they're going to be.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. And once you get them headed in that main direction, you're matching up generally their skills and ability with that unique job. Well, then it gets down to 2 other things.
Okay.
One, when I talk about developing this culture, the key way to develop your culture is to develop what your core values are. And that's going to be 3 to 5 things written in a sentence or 2 that just describes your this is the way we're going to do it and the only way we're going to do it.
Okay.
What you stand for, this service that you're going to provide, what are going to be the mindset you're going to be providing it in? What's the most important thing? We want to deliver it on time. We want to deliver it with integrity. These things that guide you. And the more clearer you can be about those core values, that's one of the best ways then to determine if you've got the right person in the right seat. Mm-hmm. Are they matching up with your core values?
Okay.
I love the way Gino Wickman in this book Traction talks about this. He talks about the GWC test. And the GWC is, the first question is, okay, does this person get it?
Okay.
Do they understand what I'm describing about this position? Or when you're describing it to them, they have a little bit of confusion. The next thing is, do they seem to want it? You talk with people and they get it. They know exactly what you're trying to do.
Right.
But you just don't sense that they got a desire to solve the problem or to really jump in there, right? They get it,
Huge.
But do they want it?
Right.
Then lastly, you'll have somebody who gets it, they want it, they're there, they after it, but they don't have the capacity. That's the C in GWC.
Oh, really?
They don't have the capacity. What
They
does
get it,
that
they
mean?
want it, and they have the capacity.
Do they have the capacity? You have somebody who gets it and they want it, but they don't have the capacity to to manage their personal life.
Sure.
They get it and they want it, but they're hardly there because their cat has to go to the veterinarian 5 times a week, or whatever. They
Children,
can't,
marriage, anything.
Yeah, they can't keep their car fixed. Whatever. They just can't be there. They don't have the bandwidth, even though they get it.
Right.
And man, they'd love to have it. Don't have the capacity. So, do they fit your core values, and do they meet the test of GWC? That'll tell you a lot. So starting at the top of determining, are they generally marketing, operations, or accounting?
Right.
Then what does that seat require? Does that uniquely match up to them? And do they meet your core values? Because, look, if you stand for integrity at all costs and you get somebody who's notorious for cutting the corners,
Sure.
that's not going to work. And that can be like a cancer in your organization. So clearly understanding your core values can be a real rudder in determining if you've got the right person.
I love that. And the rudder steering you in the right direction, where it's going to steer you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can get those things in place, then a great way to improve, going back to this book, Traction again, Gino Wickman says that you got 1,000 issues going on in businesses, coming from all different directions. But if you distilled them all down, they basically fall into 6 categories.
Okay.
And to the extent that you can improve in these 6 categories is going to determine the growth of your business. The first one is vision. We've already talked about that one. You've got to have a clear vision of where you're going. But more, or as importantly, a lot of business owners have a clear vision. The problem is that it's stuck in their head.
Right.
And no one else knows about it. So it's important to have a clear vision, packaged in a way, written in a way, explained in a way that every person on your team, every customer you have, everybody involved in your organization says, I can tell you what they're trying to do.
Right. Okay.
Where you have a problem is no one has a clue.
Yeah.
But the owner. It's all right there.
Right.
And since he has it clear, or she has it clear, well, you naturally expect everyone else has it. But until you can put it down in a way, a video, on paper, something in which you're sure everybody understands the mission. So having a clear vision, and to the extent that you can clarify it and communicate it, is key.
Right.
Then having the right people. We've already talked about that. Getting the right people on your team. To the extent that you can recruit great people, train them, get them in the right seats, and build those people systems. We should probably put that one almost up to the top, because in today's world, people are the ingredient.
Right. Okay.
So let me say this also. I've been around, I can't believe this, but it won't be long before I'll be in business 50 years.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of changing economic times at that point. There was a point where there was more supply in the marketplace than there was demand. And the great businesses won in that marketplace by being the best salespeople.
Okay.
There was a limited amount of interest in your product, and so success would be who could get their biggest piece of the pie.
Okay.
Then, you go back maybe, late 90s, early 2000, it became a lot about operations, and that's where software and systems started having an impact. Who had the best software? Who had the best systems?
Right.
That would be the winner. But as we got past about that downturn of 08, we got into 2010, 11, or 12, all we've had for the last almost 15 years has been nothing but surging demand exceeding supply.
Right.
And that's why I work with a lot of people that are under 35, 38 years old, because they have known nothing but all of growth side of things.
Wow.
And there's going to come a day when that will change.
But
in today's time, when demand is exceeding supply, you can just about hang a shingle out on any business today, and the line will start forming at the door. So the capacity to get business is not the issue today. It's the capacity to deliver it. What we have now in a limited supply are the people needed to deliver your product.
Right.
So the winning businesses today have to get the lion's share of those great people.
Right.
So in business today, it is all about the people. And if you're not willing to accept that, that a great business is just in the people business, then you almost have to go back to the one-man band. So I mentioned vision.
I love that.
People are so important. Then next up has to do with getting the right data. In a great scaling business that's growing and moving away from the one-man band owner to control it, you have to build systems that get you the data you need to make good decisions.
Right.
And I call it the dashboard of your business.
Okay.
You know, in your car, there's 100 things going on.
Right.
But if you just have 4 or 5 gauges, is there oil pressure?
Right.
Is it not overheating? Does it have fuel? You'd be surprised. You can operate your vehicle by just glancing at those gauges.
Right.
So a growing and scaling business has
Great
to
analogy,
develop
yeah.
some dashboard gauges
Right. Okay.
to get you the information to see where it's going. Now, here's the trick to that. You have to develop a system that information comes to you and you're not going to look for it.
Right.
Like, for instance, most of the time the owner wants to see how that the business is doing financially. They can go into QuickBooks or their accounting system, dial it up, run a report, pull all that information down. But there's something about that we won't do it.
Right.
So your bookkeeper needs to be challenged to put a profit loss statement on your desk completed every week or every month.
Right. Okay.
And that information that you could go and find, you just won't. So
Sure.
empower the people who have the information. I say empower them, require them.
Right,
That
okay.
information has to be consolidated in a way, typically 3 to 5 metrics,
Right.
that you can feel what they're doing. And there's a whole work that I do with people of creating those dashboards.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And it starts by taking literally every employee and asking the question, what makes up a successful day for you? Well, be successful to me if I get at least, 10 sales calls made. Okay, great. There's a metric called sales calls. Report to me every day.
Right.
How many sales
Okay.
calls? So you build a metrics of these dashboards. So the third thing for a growing and scaling company is to get better and better at getting the data that's needed to make good decisions.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's 3 out of the 6. The fourth one is issues. We have to develop systems that we can spot the problems,
Okay.
prioritize them, decide which ones we're going to attack,
Okay.
and a capacity to monitor who's got that problem, when are they going to get it solved, what
Right,
are they doing
okay.
about it. And a whole process gets developed of just simply taking in problems and solving them and moving out. Great scaling businesses have to be great and quick spotting the problems, systems to solve them, getting them done.
In that, a lot of the time, I love that you said that the capacity or that's their job to solve that problem. And so many times we see those problems pushed under the rug. We forget about them. A month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, we're like, hey, what happened to this problem? Where's this bill? I know it was there. I told you to look for it. And now the problem is way out of hand.
Yeah.
You know, in the case of a bill, hey, look, we got to pay this company. They're a service provider, and we haven't paid them for 3 months, and now it's astronomical.
Or it's a situation where, there's a problem developing and no one would see it but maybe the truck driver.
Right.
He's hearing a noise in the truck, and if he lets it go, the truck could explode,
Sure.
But there's, so we've got to have a system that he can spot that problem,
Right.
get it on a list. I'm minimizing it here, but
Sure.
get it on a list. Be able to analyze, is that a problem that's really that we should, compared to the other things,
Right.
do we prioritize that
prioritize,
one?
yep.
Yes, we are. Okay, we first got to assign it to someone
Yeah.
who's going to see it through to the end and begin to put a series of steps together to solve it. And the more you empower your people to spot the issues, put them into a system that systematically gets them resolved. Where this became a commitment of mine is I used to operate a lodge, a marina.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a great team. And I would go up there on occasion to see how it's going. I would take my main manager and just kind of go on a walk, And I remember we'd be walking along, and in that walk, man, you'd spot 50 issues, But I remember one, there was this pipe sticking out of something, and I would walk past it, In the whole scheme of things, that wasn't a big deal.
Right.
But that thing was a problem. And I'd say, we got to do something about that pipe. And he'd go, yeah, we do. I'll get that done. But we didn't have a system
Right.
for really capturing that, working through. So week after week on that walk, hey, you know that pipe right there, we've got to get that done. Yeah, I'll check into that. Well, that did it for me. The seeing a problem and walking right past it all the time.
I love that. Yeah.
So then we develop a system that when someone saw a problem like that, the first thing is we got to get it on the list.
Okay.
Now it starts the process. Every week we have a meeting. We analyze the things on the list. What's the priority?
Okay.
And work them through the system. So the fourth thing that's crucial for a growing, scaling company is systems are built and have the capacity to deal with issues quickly.
Right. Okay.
I sound small, but those issues will kill a business. The fourth one is processes.
Right.
We've got to take the things that we're doing and develop systematized processes that we can do what we do in a repeatable form.
Okay.
And there's two types of processes. There's the external processes, which I would call like marketing systems, the things that your customers see.
Okay.
Taking what you do and putting it into a process that you can name and brand and trademark.
Right. Okay.
There's a whole discussion about that.
Yeah. Okay.
But then internally, we have the new customer system.
Right,
New customer
okay.
comes on board. Here's the system. We put them this way. We do this. They get a T-shirt. They get this. They get that. And all the services that you offer get put into processes. The better you can be at eliminating these one-off things that you do, and everything that you do fits into a process. The capacity to train people, scale things is huge when you get into that area.
Amazing. Okay.
So
systems,
processes, and developing that.
Okay.
So I said 6 things. I was going to talk more about the marketing, but probably I should narrow it down to 5. The fifth one is when you get the vision, the people, the processes, the data, and the issue solved. Then it just gets down to execution.
Mm-hmm.
The capacity to move these ideas forward and get the rubber on the road.
Right.
There's a lot of companies that have great ideas, great thoughts, great processes, but the real question in the end is, can we actually facilitate these in a consistent way? So at some point, it just gets down to we have to deliver. And a lot of that's just monitoring where you are now versus where you're going.
Sure.
But when you lay those things out, those 5 areas to improve on, then you really get focused of where it is you've got to get better and where are the areas that you can grow and scale where you're going. If you don't look at it that way, it just feels like you got 1,000 things firing at you all the time.
1,000,000%.
Tend to go in a circle.
1,000,000%. I love the way that you mentioned the dashboard, and now when you put the car analogy as well, because that's what we look at. All right, do I have enough gas to get there? Is my oil pressure? For us guys, we look. Okay, it's making a funny noise. Let me look at the oil pressure. It's not a lifter or something. Then okay. The temperature, all right, it feels like it's running hot, or something like that. You're looking at those things when you have issues to try to diagnose it quickly. And so that dashboard is an amazing way to look at it. Hey, look, if I got one of these problems and I don't know about, it could take my business down or cause me a real pain if I don't know about it quick enough, right?
Yeah.
Soon enough.
And the key is to empower or require that everyone on your team take the solution they're providing and break it down to where there's typically in everything we do, there's 3 to 5, maybe 7, 8, no more than that, key components that really derive results. And if you can break those down to either the numbers or the head counts or whatever you want to call them, and then lastly, that person on your team is required to get that data to you without you looking for it. They've got to put it in front of your face.
Right.
Like that dashboard, those gauges stay. They don't put those gauges in the trunk. They're right there where you're driving, and you can't look around them, right?
Right.
Now, look, you know how important it is that your car has fuel. But if to determine if it had fuel in it, you had to stop, get a stick out of the trunk, dip the gas tank, put it through a formula, how much more would you run out of gas than if you have that metrics staring you in the face?
Amazing analogy.
All the details you need in your business, you can go and find.
Right.
But you won't.
Sure.
Create a dashboard. Require the people on your team to get the key metrics up in front of you every day, that you can't walk past it. Create the dashboard of key metrics. You can run your whole business. You run your whole car. All that's going on in your car, you're running it with 4 or 5 gauges.
Well, I love that you said, in the beginning, we talk about the solution provider. You make that hire. Okay, you are Johnny Inc. You are Sheila Inc. Okay, you are the solution provider. So what happens, because I know this happens all the time, it happens to me. Hey, I know I'm supposed to provide this solution, but this one customer I can't figure out. I have no idea what's going on. That one customer, that where they can't figure out, or they're not figuring it out, they're coming to you for the problems that they're supposed to solve all the time. It's not just now, it's a consistent coming to you, and they're putting things on hold and stopping you. What do you do in that situation? How do you get past that?
I think it goes back to the question of, why aren't they able to deliver? Is it because they don't get it?
Okay.
Because they don't really want it? Or do they just not have the capacity? Now, hopefully the problem is they just don't have the information, haven't been trained well, and there's something you can do to improve that.
Right, okay.
That they don't have enough information, or they just haven't been trained well. And you'll quickly know, because if you give them the information and you train them and it just continues to happen, I'll promise you most of the time it'll fall back to that they just don't get it. I mean, if you ever had somebody that you love and they're good, but there's something about what you're telling them, no matter how many times you explain it, they've just got this glazed look on their face. And that's like somebody telling me how, my phone works and how I can, it's the processor.
Waves.
I'm just like, what? You just wasting your time. I don't get it.
Yeah, right.
So first off, do they get it? Do they want it? Sometimes what happens is they're not delivering because their mind's somewhere else.
Right.
That job, they said they would be a solution provider, but that job is really just a means to an end.
Sure.
They're looking over trying to figure out how they can get to where they want. What they really want is to get off at 5 o'clock and go play golf. They really want to do something else. And then it gets down to capacity. They get it. They want it. Something else is keeping them from taking the full responsibility.
Sure.
And when that happens, there is no solution but to take them out of that seat and move on. And I'll tell you, in today's world, you have to accept something that Gary Vee says all the time. You got to hire fast. I would love to find one of these analysis tools that lets me just pick the right person every time.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yes, I need that crystal ball.
I pretty much have to ask the best questions I can and hire them fast. But then equally so, the minute I see that they don't GWCing and then it's not working, I got to fire even faster. I don't like that word. I got to move them out of that seat even faster.
Sure.
Now, once I see they're getting it and they're doing well, then I got to promote even faster than those two other things.
I love it.
So hire fast, fire faster, and promote even faster.
Amazing. Okay.
It's that's where the challenge lies.
Okay. So it's been fantastic today. It's been amazing. The information that we're just talking about is so valuable. Just the mindset changes. I mean, that can change someone's life just by listening to this podcast. Now, but let's kind of recap it again a little bit, and then talk about how do they find you, and how do they move forward if this fits them.
Yeah,
fits somebody.
I think just recognizing that most businesses start with someone who wants to go out and deliver their unique service.
Okay.
But quickly they morph into this one-man band who's trying to play all the instruments, and that gets tiring and difficult. And so how do we move from that into more building an orchestra? I think the first thing that happens is, you got to get to the exhaustion level. You
Yeah,
know, I
right.
talk to a lot of people about this, but you just got to be ready. You got to play that out. You know, you got to run it to the end. But when you get to that point, the second thing is accepting the fact that owning and operating a business has nothing to do with that specific initial talent that you had. And it's sometimes hard to make the transition until you're willing to accept, I got to become a different person. Now, that's not for everyone.
Right.
Stay as a one-man band. If you're happy providing your service, keeping it small, there are so many blessings to that. Now, you may not be able to take a day off.
Yeah.
You may never make the money you want, but nevertheless, maybe that's where you need to be. If you're going to grow and scale it, you have to accept that it comes with being a business owner and not just a service provider. Once you've been willing to accept that, then the key to starting is really getting a vision of what your business could look like when it's at its greatest, highest calling. And don't limit yourself by thinking you couldn't reach that vision because you don't have enough money, time, or talent. Once that vision becomes clear, then you'll start to realize that delivering that service is just all about people and the team. And the best way to start shaping the people is to visualize this great business you want to have, and that it's built on the concept of incredible customer service.
Right.
Who would be the people that would deliver this service in an incredible way? What would they be doing? Who would you need? What jobs would they be doing? Then we'll put a cost on those people and determine if your product can be sold at a high enough level to pay for those people.
Right. Okay.
And once you get that answer,
now that's a great.
You'll begin to see then that all great businesses are really just three businesses in one: a marketing side, an operations, and an accounting side. And the key to flourishing in that realm is to try to work to the level where at some point you've got at least one person, hopefully a team of people, but at least one person who's focusing on each of those three areas, and they don't cross over. And ultimately, you've got marketing trying to outsell operations, and operations trying to keep up with that demand. And that's how you create a competitive environment.
Yep.
And then you start going about the process of improving in 5 key areas. We already talked about vision, improving with people, then the capacity to get the data you need, the ability to get issues worked out and resolved, put what you do into systematized processes, and then work to get those things rubber on the road implemented.
Yeah. Okay.
And the more you can improve in those areas. Now, all of this we've talked about, it's available out there in the wide world. You could Google that. You could chat GPT it. There's all kind of books. I mentioned this book, Tractions, one of my favorites. And you can try to do this conversion on a do-it-yourself basis.
Right.
But you know what? It's like trying to build an airplane while you're flying it. And the distractions and the issues and the challenges will pull you right back down into the mess and in that mindset of I've got to solve the problems. What I find for most people, if they're going to make this transition and do it within a time frame and an efficiency, is you need an accountability partner.
Yeah.
You need a business coach. You need someone who's been through this, has the capacity to guide you. And the more knowledgeable, experienced person, the better. But so much of it is just someone that's going to get you once a week or once a month to land that plane, get out of it, and work on your business from the outside in.
Right.
Then get back in, fly it a little more, land it, and keep working on it. And this transition, man, I'd love to even say I've developed this golden nugget, buy my book and boom, it's done.
Right.
No, it's a process that you have to work on over time, coming back to it. Because what it is, it's a change of your mindset, and it's changing a muscle memory. You look, most business owners were successful because they were the greatest multitaskers ever.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, that multitasking that has gotten you to where you are now, it's what's going to keep you where you are now.
Right.
And moving out of that to a team approach goes against everything that you've ever thought about. And you won't make that transition without someone pulling you back to it. So, I'm a business coach today because I was that one-man band for 15 years.
Right.
And fortunately, I don't know if God just got sick of looking at it, or I got lucky, whatever it was. But a business coach came into my life and changed everything about the way I would see things. So find a great coach, find someone who's done it. If I might be that person,
Sure.
you can reach me on my website, beyondoneman.com. Beyondoneman.com. How to move from a one-man band to building an orchestra. And let's get on a call.
Yeah.
I'm not for everyone. Your business may not be best suited for me. Won't cost anything to find out. Because I'm telling you, you'll know in 30 seconds whether we're having the right conversation or not.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful.
yeah, get on the phone. Let's have a conversation and start working on your business from the outside in.
That's right. Yeah. Working on your business, not working in your business. Getting out. And I love how you broke it down earlier, how we talked about shooting for that visionary role. You're no longer even the CEO. You're the visionary, taking it beyond what you ever thought it could be.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's enough lifetimes to live and enough books to read to be able to divide all that up. So having a coach would probably speed it up.
It's
definitely.
a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be the speeding up that you need to actually survive and get to the next level.
Oh,
there are
yeah.
a lot of business
Right.
owners out there today with owners that are running frantic, and still they're right on the edge of whether they're
Sure.
going to morph into that martyr and stay that way, or they're going to give up and move on. It's a challenging thing, but I've worked with so many people, so many success stories of helping them make that transition, and it makes a different life when you can accomplish that.
Well, you opened my eyes. The times we've talked, the coaching you provided me, you've opened my eyes tremendously, and I'm so grateful.
Glad to be here,
Yeah,
Josh.
I'm so grateful. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Good.